Good morning, YouTube. Stevie here. It is Tuesday morning, about 7:30. Just sitting here on the toll road in Ohio, headed over to somewhere. What's the name of this town I'm going to? Strongsville. Oh, got loaded okay yesterday. Well, it was a drop and hook. The first drop, where I did that shorty, I had to go find it. They did have a trailer, but I had to look at two different places. They have two different drop yards over there at University Park. They didn't have one at the first one, but they had one at the second one. Then I bounced up there to South Elgin, and that trailer was preloaded. But there was construction like crazy. There's construction around Chicagoland like crazy. And it took forever. And then I had to go right back through it again to get out. So it added probably an hour to this trip. That it did add an hour. It did add an hour. So you start factoring all that in, and the tolls. I don't know that this load that I think pays pretty good, I'm not sure that it does pay very good. And that gets us to the subject at hand: owner-operator pay. Since I've been at JB Hunt, Power Only, I have not made as much as I made at ARCA. Not 1 week. And this week's going to be included in that. I won't make as much as I made there in this week either. But as you guys that have watched my previous videos know, that kind of dedicated lane I was going to do was fixing to dry up. So it's not really a true comparison, because I'd had to start running their kind of junk freight too. I was talking to a fella a week ago who was he was a company driver working at Rail. ROEHAL, is that how they pronounce that company? The red Freightliners. He was unloading in, where was I at? Ohio there. Findlay. Yeah, Findlay. And Rail has a tremendous amount of trailers in there at Lowe's. So they must be one of their main carriers. At least out of that DC. I mean, because they had, while we were standing there was probably 3 or 4 trucks, Rail trucks, that came in. And along that one end of the building was probably 20 doors that had Rail trucks in them. And he was making 70 cents a mile. And he said I think he said he was out of West Virginia or Southwest Ohio, Southeast Ohio, because he was talking to another guy from Virginia, West Virginia, and they were talking about the different yards down there. So I think that's where he was from. Anyway, I should have asked him how long he was out, but I didn't. He was running close to 3,000 miles a week. He said they've been running him like crazy. And I think he's kind of on a fairly, I don't know if they have dedicated freight or not, but it sounds like he was kind of on a pretty regular in and out of those lows, and he was, like I said, I don't know if he was dedicated or not, but he was pretty consistent with what he ran. So you figure that, let's just say 3,000, because the math works better. That's 2,100. They're not going to always get that much, so you can't figure exactly like that. But then let's say you take 30% off of that. He's up around 1,400 a week to the house. Plus, he has insurance And I don't know what their retirement is, if they have a matching 401k or anything like that. That's not a bad deal. I'm not making, as an owner-operator in this market right now, I am probably on average. Now, I have weeks I make a fair bit more than that. But I have a lot of weeks I don't make much more than that. After you take out both, because I got to pay both halves of the taxes. After you take out both halves of the taxes, I have to pay my own insurance, which my insurance isn't crazy expensive, but it's not free. I'll get into that maybe another day, but what I use for insurance. And that's no retirement. I got to provide all of that myself, and I have all the risk. You do that for a career. People say, well, when I retire, I got my truck to get rid of. What's your truck worth? You're not going to buy a new truck and drive it for a year and trade it and sell it. You're going to have a truck that's got miles on it. So what's that, 40 or 50,000? Well, that's not much. If you can get that much for an old truck that you're selling. Now, you start looking into some more specialized freight. Because like I said, that fella, he was just a drive-in, like me. You start looking into some specialized freight, like maybe for FedEx or for UPS, or some of the boys that are pulling different kind of tanker products, or gas, or that kind of stuff. They're probably making more. I will be lucky, really lucky at this point. Now we're like I said, we're in May. I'll be really lucky if I can break 100,000 pre-tax to the house. That don't live in. So then you take out the insurances and trying to save some for retirement. And then the other thing is you have to factor in the risk. The risk you have as an owner-operator. The unpredictability. That kid a fella knew he's going to have freight every week on Monday when he jumps in the truck. He's going to have freight every week. He doesn't worry about where the next load's coming from. He doesn't worry about any of that stuff. So, if the truck's going to break, if a check engine light comes on. So from that perspective, you really got to start wondering, in today's market, it's hard pressed not to justify being a company driver. Because they've got the less risky situation and are making just as much money in the long run. If you start figuring in retirement and compounding interest on that, it would be. I hate to say it, but I will. I would have been better off just say a company driver at Schneider when I started there 30 years ago than where I am right now, probably. Now I have upside potential. You get in the right thing, and you can really bang out some money. Or on the company side, you're limited. Just whatever they give you is what you get. You don't get no more. But in terms of risk, it's tough not to say they got the better end of the deal right now. Now, will that be that way forever? Probably not. It swings back and forth. But right now, I would say for sure the company drivers have the advantage. Anyway, that's all for this morning, guys. God bless, and we will talk again soon.